What if the assassin killed Catelyn and Bran Stark? Let's explore the depths of it in the video.
He's dead already.
Catelyn screams and clutches her bloodied hand. She tries to get up and attack the Catspaw again, but the assassin is faster. He pushes her down and is on top of her in an instant. A dagger in his hand flashes, and the Lady of Winterfell gasps, feeling the blood pouring from across her throat as she drops to the ground. The Catspaw doesn't even wait for her to die as he approaches Bran. There is a low growl from behind him as Summer pounces on him and sinks into his calf. The Catspaw screams and feels blood soaking into his breeches as the direwolf bites harder. He kicks the wolf aside and sends him skidding across the room before hobbling over to Bran. He doesn't think. He only acts as he drives the blade into his heart. The boy doesn't scream or stir as the dagger is buried, hilt deep into his chest. But the Catspaw does as Summer pounces on him again. This time, he goes for the throat, and the assassin cannot defend himself. He drops to the ground and becomes the third body left on the ground. When Robb and his guards arrive, they find him dead, the dagger still in his brother. Grief washes over the young lord, but there is no time to think of it. Now is the time to act. The dagger is removed from Bran and studied. It is made of Valyrian steel and a dragonbone hilt. This is too fine a weapon for a common cutthroat. Someone had to have armed him and paid him to kill Bran. The only person who could afford that is someone from the royal court. Though he wants nothing more than to mourn the loss of his family, Robb pushes through and begins setting up a plan. The first priority is to tell his father, to ensure his safety, and Sir Rodrik is tasked to inform Ned in person. The dagger is sent with him as proof. The story is kept hidden for weeks until the old knight reaches King's Landing. He arrives secretly on a ship and makes his way to the Red Keep. The guards take him to Ned's solar. The Hand is surprised to see him, but as he sees the grief written on the old knight's face and the dagger in his hands, he knows something has gone wrong.
My lord, there was an incident in Winterfell. A fire was started in the library, and when we attempted to extinguish it, the Catspaw snuck into the keep and struck down young Bran. Lady Stark attempted to stop him, but...
He says no more as his lip quivers. Instead, Rodrik simply pushes the dagger forward. There were still faint droplets of blood on the blade. Ned stares at the blade in shock, his face going ashen as he nearly falls over. The image of what Rodrik describes plays in his head. His helpless young son, his brave wife trying to defend him, and the dagger. His legs go weak, and he nearly falls over. Ned must lean against a chair for support as the old knight helps him sit down.
We found this weapon in Bran's chest, and the guards later found the assassin's hideout. He had cleared a path of an old stable, and we discovered a bag of silver in his possession. It appears that someone had paid him. Someone with wealth and influence. A paid assassin. Who would want my son dead?
Yet as he thinks about it, he recalls Bran's fall from the tower. Many had assumed it was just an accident, but now things look much less certain. He takes the dagger from Sir Rodrik and examines it.
I suppose that is what the owner of this dagger would tell us.
He sends Rodrik on his way before going to the one person he trusts with this information. Robert. If nothing else, he might know who the weapon might belong to. Yet, when he shows the dagger to Robert, his face immediately lights up at the sight of the weapon.
That's my blade. I thought I misplaced it back in Winterfell. Where did you find it? I found it in Bran's heart, Robert.
The king's face immediately falls. He pulls away, afraid to even touch it.
What? Oh, no. That's terrible. Ned, I hope you don't believe I would. No. I know you long enough to understand you would never do such a thing. But it appears someone in your court is capable. The assassin was killed when he had a bag of silver. Too much money for a lone thief to have. And this is not a typical assassin's weapon. But who would want your son dead? I am not certain. But it might be tied to his fall from earlier. That still doesn't explain why someone would want this. It just leaves us with more questions, and no suspects. Not entirely.
Ned hesitates. He wonders whether he should say any more, or if he should keep his cards close to his chest. But when he looks at Robert and knows how committed he is, Ned takes a deep breath.
Before you arrived, I received a letter from Lady Lysa. She said she suspected her husband's death was not an illness. It was murder. And the poisoner was a Lannister.
When Robert hears this, his face darkens, his jaw falls open, and he questions that claim. A part of him wants to deny it and insist it cannot be true, and yet it does fit them perfectly. He thinks of his wife and father-in-law, and knows they certainly would be capable of it. He also knows those are accusations that cannot be made lightly. It seems Ned understands it too, as his voice softens when he says it. They cannot possibly bring these claims to light without proof, and strong proof at that.
Ned, whoever is responsible, I will get to the bottom of it. Thank you, Your Grace. Your support will help me greatly in my... No, Ned, you must return to Winterfell immediately. You and your children. If Catelyn and Bran are dead, you must be there for your family. They need their father with them. But what of you? The crown has survived 2 months without a hand. It can survive a few more weeks. But this is the last chance to see them. Something I never had with Lyanna. Besides, if you investigate, it will look too suspicious. I can have someone else look into the matters. Thank you, Robert.
And so Ned sends an order throughout his household for them to prepare to depart. He will be looking for a ship to bring them home. Unsurprisingly, Sansa is heartbroken at leaving, especially right before the hand's tourney. Yet Robert assures her that he will host an even grander one when Ned returns. The girls' disappointment only turns to grief when they hear about what happened to Bran and their mother. As Ned relays the news and his voice breaks, both of them soberly nod their heads and begin packing their things. This leaves Robert to prepare his investigation and recruit a new hand. Despite his bravado, he is not as confident as he seems. He needs a trusted individual, someone tireless and disciplined, to look into matters. He might have considered Stannis, but his second brother remains in Dragonstone. Sir Barristan might have also served, had he not been too rigid. This leaves only one, Renly. When Renly heard about this, he made a show of modesty, saying that he is honored and will work to carry out this mission as best he can. He sends a trusted knight, Sir Balon Swan, to escort Ned back north, but also to look into things there. His first priority is to begin making a list of suspects, and knowing where all of them were. While he is told about Lysa's letter, Renly also knows that she was unstable, and that these two might not be related. There were many nobles who accompanied the king and could pay off an assassin. He lists them down and then asks the servants and free riders who had accompanied the king north, and where they were the night the dagger went missing. Almost all have some excuse. Even Sir Jaime is cleared when Robert's Kingsguard say all the knights are with them throughout the night. Cersei was with Robert during the night as well, yet as always she kept her distance. This meant she could not have had a chance to steal it, and her maids all confirmed that she remained in her chambers throughout the night. This puts Renly in a difficult position, as he has no leads. As he begins heading back to his quarters, he feels a familiar laugh in the back, and squares his shoulders.
Is that a spider skittering I hear?
Ah, Lord Renly. Your ears are sharp as ever. Apologies for the interruption.
You will be given when you can provide a good reason for it.
I have come here to offer my commendations for taking up such a difficult task as this investigation. I know that it is a difficult matter to look into, yet the king must be so thankful for it.
Yes. Thanks from the spider. How valuable. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must be on my way.
And I heard you have cleared the Lannisters from your list of suspects.
By now, Renly was already preparing to walk off, but he hesitated and turned back, watching Varys warily. If he knows that, then no doubt he would also be telling Cersei about the investigation.
I've simply been asking their servants about where they were. Nothing else.
Well, I've heard the strangest thing earlier. I thought that you would want to know. When one of my little birds was walking by, they overheard the Crown Prince talking. He said that it was best that whoever tried to have the young Stark killed succeed. He was already a dead boy.
Renly snorted and was ready to dismiss that. It was just the sort of callous thing Joffrey said on a regular basis. It hardly provided any real evidence. But something about Varys' voice is oddly tantalizing, as if there's something more behind his words.
You say Joffrey said this. What do you think might have gotten into him to say something like that?
Who knows what goes on in the mind of a boy like that? But perhaps he might have heard it from someone. But I apologize if I wasted the hand's time.
He bows and disappears into the shadows, leaving Renly to ponder what he just heard. It is as if an answer had just been dropped into his lap. An answer that he knows well. There is only one person the little prince listens to, and that is his mother. Soon, another development emerges as Sir Balin writes a letter to Renly. He had arrived in Winterfell, after escorting the Starks there. The first thing he did was visit the tower where Bran had had his fall. While outside seemed clear, he found something strange inside, a strip of cloth. It was fine silk and a deep purple that was almost see-through. He had found it on the floor of the tower, as if it had been thrown there after being ripped off. The fabric seemed like it might have belonged to someone's clothing. Renly leans back in his chair, fingers drumming softly on the armrest as Cersei Lannister appears. Her posture is relaxed, but her eyes sharpen when she sees him.
You're far from your wing, Lord Renly. It was not long ago that you were on one of the lower floors for the Master of Laws.
What can I say? I like to fly high. Apologies for the interruption, but I hope to speak with you for a moment about Winterfell.
Winterfell? It was dreadfully cold and dull. I hardly recall it.
But you recall where you were on the day the Stark boy fell?
Lord Hand, surely you're not accusing me of that unfortunate accident.
There was a dangerous edge to her voice, a tightening that warned him to tread lightly.
Of course not. No. But I must make sure that I have a clear picture of where everyone was. Perhaps you may have seen something that others have missed. So I must ask, where were you when the boy had his fall?
Me? I was resting. It was a long trip, so I had Sir Jaime escort me to my chambers. He can confirm that.
I see. And tell me about the boy. It is tragic what happened. What madman would attempt to murder a child in such a state? Truly heartbreaking.
Indeed. The cruelty of some men knows no bounds. But then again, the gods are cruel too. The boy had to undergo a tragic accident like that, and yet, if he had awoken, he would have been a cripple at best. Or a lackwit. In many ways, the gods were merciful.
Renly doesn't react. He offers a courteous nod, then excuses himself with a smile and a bow. That evening, Varys appears in his chamber without a sound, ghost-like in the dim light.
My little birds found all they need thanks to your distraction. Yes, the Queen has had the royal tailor attempt to fix a gown, one that had been ripped. A sleeve with deep purple on its hem. A strip is missing. She couldn't say how it was lost.
Renly doesn't speak. He just turns to stare into the hearth, where the flames lick at blackened logs. So Cersei lied. She was at the tower, or near it. That alone is enough to raise suspicion. But suspicion is not enough. It does not prove she had hired a Catspaw, or that Bran had witnessed something worthy of trying to murder him. As most of the men were out hunting during that day, it means there is only one person who can make or break this story. Sir Jaime.
Well then, let's see where this thread leads.
He tells all this to Robert, who agrees to have Jaime questioned. Even he can sense that there is something strange about this. One day, he agrees to summon Sir Jaime into the throne room. The night arrives just as the sun sets, and the courtiers have returned to their quarters. When the Kingslayer appears, the only ones there are Robert, Renly, and the rest of the Kingsguard. As he arrives, he notes all the eyes on him and bites back his worry, covering it up with a pleasing smile.
Your Grace, you summoned me?
I did, Kingslayer. Tell me, what were you doing while the rest of us were hunting in Winterfell?
I was doing my duty. I escorted the Queen to her chambers. She said she was feeling tired after the journey. I told Lord Renly as much when he questioned me, and if he believes otherwise, he can ask the attending servants, who happen to be Lannister servants. And tell me, where exactly do you think I was if I wasn't with my sister? I never said you weren't with your sister.
He pulls out the cloth that Sir Balin had sent via Raven. It is short, about the length of a finger, and yet Jaime seems to recognize it. For a moment, there is a hint of panic in his eyes, but he pushes that aside.
Am I supposed to recognize that? It is part of your sister's gown, found in a tower, the same one young Bran fell from. Strange how it ended up there. Tell me, Sir Jaime, did you happen to get lost on your way to the Queen's chambers?
You are simply a liar. But if you cannot answer that question, then maybe you can tell me what happened to this.
He reaches to his belt and pulls out the Valyrian steel dagger. Now Jaime was truly stunned as he stared at the blade, but not out of fear. He seems genuinely confused.
That blade? Isn't that your dagger?
How am I to know about it? It was found in Bran Stark's heart, right after he fell from a tower. A tower your sister happened to be in without anyone's knowledge. Anyone but you, it might seem. Unless, of course, you were not aware of this little detour she took.
It was an out for the Kingslayer. To save his skin, he simply had to admit that Cersei was there on her own. By doing that, they can detain her and force the truth, but it would also mean abandoning his sister. For the first time, Jaime seems dead certain. He stands up straighter and looks Robert in the eye.
I was with my sister the entire time, Your Grace. I know nothing about what happened to your dagger.
Take him to the dungeons. Let him remain there until a time he can remember. And be discreet about it, you fools.
Unfortunately, all the discretion in the world cannot keep a secret in the royal court. Word gets out and reaches the ears of Cersei Lannister through her cronies, Sir Meryn, and when she does, she realizes there is little time to waste. If they arrested Jaime, then they might go after her next. She writes to Tywin and asks him for aid, but also makes her preparations. Her household guard numbers only 100 men. While they outnumber Renly, if Robert decides to act, she will find herself outnumbered. She has her guards positioned in the royal chambers, ensuring that her children are protected by Sir Meryn, Boros, and other men loyal to them. Meanwhile, Sir Mandon guards her while a messenger is secretly sent to the Gold Cloaks. When morning comes, she hears the shuffle of feet as a group of Baratheon guards arrive. They say that they are there to take charge of protecting the Queen, but Sir Mandon blocks their path. They attempt to force their way in, but this results in a fight where the King's Guard knight proves his worth. He cuts through 3 men with ease, but the other surviving guards quickly raise the alarm, and more men move to support him. However, this is also the signal for Cersei's Red Cloaks. They move to intercept Renly's household guard. Over the years, the court had been stacked with Lannisters. They serve as the king's squires, as royal pages, and even servants are hired by them. Now all of that pays off as they show their true loyalty. Some take up knights and slit men's throats while they are least suspecting it, or misdirect soldiers to empty halls. Others lock doors and leave men trapped. Although Renly has the support of the likes of Sir Loras and other Reachmen and Stormlanders, the number remains even, and fighting soon breaks out all across the Red Keep. Even Robert dons armor and moves down, accompanied by Sir Preston and Aerys. For a time it seems like things are even, until the Gold Cloaks arrive. They burst through the halls with their spears and swords in hand. At first, the Baratheons think that they are there to help them, until Janos drives his sword into a wounded Baratheon man-at-arms' stomach. Suddenly, the City Watch rushes forth and attacks them. They were paid off by Cersei, and Janos was promised a high place and many friends in court. That, and a reminder that it was the Lannisters who permitted him to retain his position when the Baratheon brothers wanted him to be removed. Robert watches this in surprise, and because of that, he doesn't hear the movement behind him until it is too late. When Sir Aerys raises his sword to join the fight, Sir Preston grabs it and drives his blade through the knight's stomach. He then points his blade at Robert, just as the last of the men-at-arms are slain. The king tries to swing his hammer, but the men rush at him. It takes 6 men to wrestle him to the ground, but they eventually do, and lead him away. The same is true for Renly and Sir Barristan. The Lord Commander slays 10 men who come at him, but is eventually cornered by a ring of gold cloaks with their spears leveled. Sir Jaime is released from prison and takes command of the Kingsguard, while the rest are detained. But the situation is serious. As though they might hold the city thanks to the Gold Cloaks, they are surrounded by enemies, and Stannis is still on Dragonstone. Once he gets word of this, he immediately sails out and blockades King's Landing, calling for an immediate release of his brothers. The Gold Cloaks rebuke him, saying that there was an attempted coup in the capital, and they are still securing it. Yet Stannis is not fooled, and they know he will try to take the city. But he does not arrive in silence. When his ships appear, they also bear messages about Cersei and her brother. They are not what they seem, and neither are their children. They are the bastards of incest, and Cersei and Jaime had been engaging in an abominable relationship. She will need a proper alibi and decides to approach Renly. Like his brother, the youngest Baratheon is confined to his chambers, where he is forbidden from leaving. When the queen arrives, she sees that he has not touched his food.
Lord Hand, you are looking gaunt. Are you not eating enough? I can tell the servants to bring you more food if it is not to your liking.
Save me your empty courtesy and tell me what you want.
I want to speak to you. It does not look good right now, but I also think there is an opportunity for us. You see, there is no need for us to be enemies.
Oh, so what do you call imprisoning me and my brother?
A precaution to ensure that no false rumors get out, and to ensure that the people only learn the truth.
Truth? And what truth is that?
that Commander Janos has gone mad with power. He heard that you intended to remove him from his position, so he attempted to seize power. He bribed my men and got them to join in the slaughter. And in the confusion, we had acted rashly, but we worked to protect the royal family.
What a compelling story. And the dagger?
Stolen by some free rider who attached himself to our household. He perhaps had been stealing throughout the visit, which is how he obtained his silver. He had stolen the silk off my gown and Robert's dagger. Then he tried to steal from the Starks, knowing that Bran was comatose, but had not expected his mother to be there.
I must say, being a queen is a waste of your talents. I have never heard of a mama's story as wild as that. You would do well to share your gift for tales. But tell me, do you expect Robert to believe that? Or Ned Stark? Or anyone in the realm?
Robert has never had a care for ruling. Why should we care now? Besides, he is under lock and key. Whatever we say may as well come from his mouth. At least, so long as his hand signs off on it.
And what makes you think that you'll get my support?
For one, we will give you your freedom. But for another, the king still requires a hand. Do you think your position as hand was permanent? You know Robert as well as I. You might be related to him by blood, but Ned Stark was always his brother. He was the one he wanted to make hand. And when he returned, Robert would have taken that badge off you and put it on him. But with Ned out of the way, I see no reason why you cannot retain your position.
Renly thinks about this offer. Truly thinks about it. In some ways, it does make a lot of sense, and he knows it. At the end of the day, he was the spare choice for hand, and he was selected simply because Robert had no one else to choose over him. Though he might be imprisoned, he still commands considerable respect and popularity, more than Cersei could. In the right hands, he could turn that around and overpower her. And he has received word that Stannis is gathering men in the Crownlands. With word of the coup spreading, he would need to act fast if he were to have any hope of salvaging the situation. But then he shakes his head.
You really do think I would betray my brother so easily? And for you, no less? No, I very much doubt that.
Then perhaps you would rather see your brother from atop the spikes of the Red Keep.
Go on then. And what will stop my brother from storming the Red Keep and putting you and all your children's head beside me?
Cersei gasps and slaps him before storming off. Though the blow stings, he knows he has won that round. Smoke rises in lazy curls from the distant fields, and the banners of Dragonstone flutter above a host camped outside the city walls. From the ramparts of King's Landing, the sight is grim. Stannis Baratheon has brought war to the capital, and 10,000 men. Though Cersei had secured the capital, they had not had time to secure the loyalties of the rest of the Crownlands, who remained in a state of confusion. This allows Stannis to march his forces in and sweep them up. Houses see his army land as they appear from Duskendale, and they open their gates for him, some not even realizing there is a war until he approaches them. His forces ring the southern and eastern gates, fortified with earthworks and sharpened stakes. Siege towers stand half assembled, but they are mostly for show. Stannis knows he lacks the numbers to storm the city outright, not without unacceptable losses and too much risk. And inside the walls, Cersei holds the hostages, Renly, Robert, and several members of the small council. A direct assault would risk killing the very people he seeks to save. Instead, Stannis does what he has always done. Plans, waits, and strikes with precision. His men make a big show of assembling weapons and drilling along the walls. The gold cloaks watch this and grip their spears tightly. Many of them are ready to fight, but they lack the training of these warriors of the Narrow Sea, and they know it. In the dead of night, Sir Davos Seaworth slips from the main camp with a dozen men. They wear plain black, blades wrapped in cloth. Their boots make no sound. They follow the riverbank to a small cove that Davos and Stannis know about. Though the Red Keep belongs to Cersei, Stannis has studied the layout well. Hidden among rock and moss lies a forgotten sally port beneath the keep. With torches extinguished, they descend into blackness. Davos leads them forward, one hand pressed to the damp stone. Atop the battlements, the gold cloaks remain unaware. Their numbers have thinned in recent days to man the walls. Men are loyal to Janis Slynt, but morale is shaken. Whispers of Stannis' approach, of Robert's captivity, of Lannister plots, all eat at their resolve. At the appointed hour, as the moon dips behind a cloud, Stannis gives the signal. From the camp, drums beat once, twice, then fall silent. Suddenly, Fire erupts inside the Red Keep. Davos and his men overwhelm the inner guards near the gatehouse, lighting beacons as a signal. To the Gold Cloaks, it is a signal to withdraw. To Stannis, it is a signal to attack. As they leave the walls, Stannis charges with a vanguard of elite knights battering the river gate. The Gold Cloaks crumble under pressure, lacking orders and direction. Confusion reigns, and many simply throw down their weapons. The Red Keep holds out for a time, but in the confusion, Davos manages to free Robert and Renly and sails off into the darkness. Without their hostages, the Gold Cloaks break, and many abandon their posts. Taking the Red Keep does require storming it, but without the king, they are just rebels. The narrow seamen storm the walls, throwing themselves into the thick of the fighting. They slaughter anyone who gets in their path. By dawn, Robert stands in the throne room, sword drawn, eyes burning with judgment.
About time you got here, brother. I could send you back into your cell.
In the Great Hall, the banners of House Lannister are ripped from the walls. A dozen conspirators are dragged in chains before the returning king. Janos Slynt is among them, bloodied and silent. Cersei, too. Jaime is brought, bloodied, chained, and beaten.
They tried to kill us. They locked me in my own chambers, told the court I was unfit.
They plotted to rule in your name. When I refused to play along, they imprisoned me too. You all saw it. They seized the Gold Cloaks, took the city.
A coup. Plain as day to cover up a worse crime. Incest. The children you believed were your own family are bastards born of that sin.
Renly looks over at Jaime, then levels his sword at him.
So, Sir Jaime, care to tell me again where you were when the young Bran fell?
This time, there is another caveat to his words. He will not merely imprison Jaime or Cersei. They are marked for death. The only question is the nature of it. Renly promises to let them die quickly through a beheading. Yet, if they continue to deny their treason, Stannis suggests offering them up to the fires. Now that the Baratheons have all the cards, there is no bluffing with them. And soon the story comes spilling out as Jaime tells everything. He talks about the incest and admits that he and Cersei have done it multiple times. This includes the conception of their children, and that Winterfell was no different. While Robert was out hunting, the two had snuck into an abandoned tower where Bran found them. The one thing that he does deny is paying a Catspaw to murder Bran. Jaime insists that if he wanted him dead, he would have done it himself. It is a bold claim, but one they believe. Renly glances at Robert, who gives a nod. A moment later, Stannis' sword flashes, and Cersei's head rolls. He prepares to do the same for Jaime, but Renly raises his hand.
No, not yet. He could still be useful. So long as Tywin is raising his banners, Jaime is more useful alive than dead.
Renly has the right of it. We might be able to end this war at the cradle if it goes well.
Robert grunts and gestures for Jaime to be dragged back off into his cell. Meanwhile, this still leaves the question of who hired the Catspaw. Renly thinks back to what Varys said, and now confronts Joffrey. With the Lannisters defeated and no one to protect him, the boy breaks down immediately. He confesses having heard Robert talking about Bran, and how it might have been kinder to let him die. Because of that, he was now inspired to take the dagger and put Bran out of his misery. Like a lamed horse, as he had heard Robert say. For once, Robert turns sheepish and looks at them. Once he is gone, he sends a letter to Ned, telling him everything that had happened. He does not hide what Joffrey did, and how he was inspired by him, offering his heartfelt apology to his friend. When Lord Stark hears of this, he is devastated. Not only did his wife and son die, but they did not die to some grand conspiracy. They died due to the whims of a spoiled prince. He can hardly believe it, and the letter that returns is terse and cold. He thanks Robert for informing him of it, but says that he will be prepared to march out and join his army if it comes to war. There is no mention of his children, nothing about returning to King's Landing. The closest there is to that is Ned telling him to ensure Joffrey never sees the Iron Throne. On that much, Robert agrees and decides to spare Joffrey an execution. Instead, he is sent to the Wall for murder and nearly starting a war. At last, there is only Tywin. During Cersei's brief rule over King's Landing, she had called for her father to raise his banners and reinforce them. Now his army is assembled, but there is no city to rally to. Instead, he faces the wrath of the Baratheons. With them, the North and Riverlanders rally to their side, and Renly's ties with Loras ensures the Reach joins them. This leaves the Westerlands isolated and without real hope of victory, even if they had the capital. So instead, Tywin attempts to negotiate. To that, he offers to meet with Renly in Harrenhal, where the two discuss terms.
I will exercise my children's actions, but surely you can understand the crimes of the child and not the crimes of the father. just as my sins are not their own.
And yet you were prepared to commit your own crimes. Or did you think I missed your banners being raised?
Calling my bannermen is hardly a crime. When I called them, I was under the impression that I was defending my daughter's rule. I did not know the full extent of these allegations.
Allegations? That is a nice way of describing incest.
And yet, what proof do you have? Stannis talks about lineages and genealogies as if they prove anything. Meanwhile, your only evidence is a confession made as my son was arrested and in your custody. It would be easy enough to claim that it was made under duress.
And even if it were, what do you hope to accomplish by it?
Simple. If there is no incest, my grandchildren cannot be disinherited. Joffrey must be removed from power, and I understand that. However, this can leave Tommen to inherit, and he will require a protector of the realm, given his young age. If you were to convince Robert to drop that claim, then perhaps I can lend you my support.
Well, now I see where your daughter gets it. But as I told her before, I am not interested. Say I do cooperate with you. What do I have to gain from it? You will remain the pariah, and Robert already believes the rumor. Nothing you or I say will convince him. And if I do, who will back you? No. Here are my terms. You will stand down and send your bannermen home. Jaime will be sent to the wall, and the children shall be disinherited. But you shall remain Lord of Castle Rock, if only because we cannot prove your role in this plot. Tywin's face darkens, and the veins in his neck bulge. His fingers tighten into a fist, and he looks ready to sweep everything from the table. But Renly smiles. If not, you may settle things on the battlefield. I'm sure my brothers would enjoy that. Tywin glares at the young lord. A part of him wants to reject it, and yet, what is the alternative? He knows if it comes to war, the Westerlands will be defeated, and then there shall be no one left to lead his house. Taking a deep breath, they finish their negotiations. Tywin does manage to convince him to preserve Lannister honor with their treatment of Jaime, but that is the only concession Renly gives. In the end, Tywin agrees to call his banners home. With that, the war comes to an end. Though Ned Stark is offered the position of Hand once again, he says that he has had enough of southern politics. Instead, this office goes to Renly, who continues to look into court and begins to go after other actors like Littlefinger and Varys, who he sees as bad actors in order to secure Baratheon domination, and also to slowly push the Tyrells forward as a replacement to the Lannisters. That's our theory. Westeros is a land filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey across the Seven Kingdoms and beyond, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.